We start this hour with the U.S. COVID crisis. 148,000 new cases reported yesterday. According to our own NBC News tally, that is the highest single-day total of this entire pandemic. Many states are now reintroducing safety measures they haven't had since the spring, as the number of people in the hospital hits all-time highs.
Having served medical care in an actual war feels very similar to this, where we're fighting a war against this virus.
Our NBC team is on the ground in coronavirus hotspots across the country. NBC News correspondent Morgan Chesky is in El Paso, Texas. NBC News correspondent Gabe Gutierrez is in Minneapolis. And NBC News national political reporter Josh Letterman is in Bethesda, Maryland. Morgan, let's start with you. El Paso's health department reporting 29 new coronavirus-related deaths this morning. It's just terrible news. What else are you seeing there?
Now, Allison, we're seeing a crisis deepen by the day here in El Paso. Earlier this week, we saw some of those mobile morgues arrive. By the end of today, we anticipate 10 of them to be in place here in El Paso. Those are the large refrigerated units that have now had to be brought here simply because the morgues are running out of room due to the death toll rising daily here. We do know that hospitalizations rates are skyrocketing, and hospitals have had to, in some instances, double up room capacity, 2 patients to a room. We know that doctors have been brought in from the Army, from the Air Force, treating those most critical, and tents have been set up around area hospitals to try and handle the influx of these patients. I had a chance to speak to one of the doctors who tells me that this is unlike any crisis he's ever dealt with before. Take a listen.
Without a certainty of whenever this is going to end or when the spike's going to go down, we just don't know. So that creates anxiety, but we're able to understand that. We've developed our processes, our plans to deal with the surge, and that's what we've implemented.
And the medical officials here tell me they have resources to handle their current number of patients, but there is an imaginary wall out there, Allison, that if these numbers continue to go up, they said that it's a worst case scenario. They're trying not to hit, but at the same time, a very real possibility. Allison.
Morgan, Texas's governor says that he is sending more resources to help El Paso. What's the plan? What are they trying to do there?
Yeah, well, this has been kind of an ongoing process, specifically since October when these numbers started to tick up. We know that a field hospital has been established here in the El Paso Convention Center. Initially, only 50 beds were set up. Governor Greg Abbott saying last night that by the end of this week, that number will be doubled to have 100 beds there to handle some of the more stable COVID patients. In the meantime, we know that there are more state resources, healthcare workers being sent to help out as much as possible. Those tents that I mentioned that are set up around the hospitals will be staffed by some of those healthcare workers. We know that travel nurses have been flying into El Paso by the hundreds, working 6 days on, 1 day off, 12-hour days, doing whatever they can to try to treat these patients, while at the same time watching those case numbers rise in the very community they're serving. Allison?
Morgan, an El Paso County judge extended the county's stay-at-home order through November, but we're hearing the state's attorney general is going to the courts to try to get rid of that order. Can you tell us more about this and why it is just so controversial?
Yeah, this is a shutdown order that the entire state has been watching, essentially because it's pitting El Paso County against a local restaurant group that sued them and the Texas State Attorney General Ken Paxton. They are saying that the county judge here, Ricardo Samaniego, has overstepped his authority by issuing this shutdown that closes non-essential businesses, establishes a curfew, and basically makes it to where there's limited travel in some instances, all to try to cut down on potential interaction to keep those case numbers low. Now, we know that their argument is basically saying that by shutting down the local economy, you are taking potential profits away from business owners. At the same time, the county judge tells me that if these numbers continue to go up the way in which they are, it will only be longer before this city can return to normal. So there is an appeals court that is expected to make a final ruling on this tomorrow, whether or not this shutdown will remain in place. It was extended as of this morning, and it could potentially run into early December.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.